Welcome to the channel. Today we will be reviewing a recent episode of the Ben Shapiro Show. Our goal for this episode will be to keep an open mind and judge Ben not by the sound of his voice, but by the quality of his arguments. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's begin.
The American Oligarchy.
Recently, on their Fighting Oligarchy tour, Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, better known as AOC, and Senator Bernie Sanders drew huge crowds in Arizona and Colorado. In the episode we review, Ben Shapiro dismisses the idea of an American oligarchy, and he discredits Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Sanders. Let's listen to Ben begin to explain all the billionaires at President Trump's inauguration.
Ben frames his opponent's claim and then rejects it.
But the way that Democrats are playing it is that there's a sort of corporatist, slimy deal going on at the top of politics, the oligarchy, air quotes, in which the Musks of the world are cooperating with the Trumps of the world so that Trump will put money in Musk's pocket and Musk will put money in Trump's pocket and they both go home happy and everybody else gets poor. That is the line. It's not true, but that is the line Democrats are going to use.
Ben is off to a good start in terms of forming his argument. He makes his claim there is no slimy deal going on between billionaires and the president, but that is what the Democrats want you to believe. He did give his argument in a funny order, so he actually gave his reason before his claim. So let's rewind and listen to the reason that supports this claim.
Of course, business is going to support Republican administrations because Republican administrations remove all of the horrible regulations that have led to the downfall of cities like Los Angeles, Chicago, New York, and Detroit. Republicans get the obstacles out of the way of business, so business tends to support Republicans. This has been sort of a long-standing theme in American politics for decades.
All right, going good. So now we have his claim there is no collusion, and we have his reason, because Republican economic policies are better for big business. So the mega wealthy are merely supporting the party that benefits them. This is something to work with, but then things fall apart.
His reason creates more questions than it answers.
Such as?
What makes the regulations horrible? What, exactly, are the obstacles Republicans remove from the path of big business?
Good questions. I think many people fear that the regulations that will be removed are the ones that prevent monopolies and protect workers' rights.
Can I see Ben's evidence?
Next, we would expect Ben to provide evidence. Maybe not the kind that answers our questions, but something that he thinks makes his argument persuasive. But instead, we got some Jim Jones, Charles Manson bullshit.
The art of manipulative language.
Instead of providing us with evidence to support his claim and reasons, Ben uses manipulation tactics on us, specifically the tactics of flattery and creating an us versus them dynamic. First, he flatters us by telling us we're members of a tiny cadre of people who really know what's going on.
You and I, we sit here, we talk politics every day. And so if you listen to this show, you're a member of a tiny cadre in the American public who watches politics at a fairly granular level.
He wants us to think of ourselves as one of the smart ones. As he continues to flatter, he creates an us versus them dynamic, where this is us, the educated, and then there are them, the ignorant majority.
You know the players, you know the general arguments. The vast majority of people in the United States have a picture of politics that is significantly less granular.
Ben completely abandons the formal argument structure, and he begins to belabor the point that his audience is an elite club of intellectuals who sees things on the granular level. He even takes the time to paint a long-winded analogy about the paintings of George Seurat that I have spared you.
If all of us are right up close to the Seurat painting.
Once Ben feels like he has convinced us that we are in fact the ones who are well-informed and really know what's going on, he then anchors believing that there is collusion to being the thoughts of a low-info, likely low-IQ person who doesn't have a granular view of politics.
Only an idiot would believe otherwise, and we're not idiots.
If you see a picture of President Trump at the inauguration flanked by Jeff Bezos and Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk and Tim Cook and Neil Mohan and the rest of and Sundar Pichai and all the rest of these sort of tech CEOs, and they're all in a room together, and President Trump is next to them. These sort of bird's eye view, take half a moment and look at the TV and then move on with your day, view of that is, oh, these guys are friends and they must work together.
Even though Ben left his argument incomplete by leaving us without evidence to examine, I would like to briefly give an argument for the counterclaim. Namely, there is collusion among the billionaire class and the President of the United States.
Are these men there to support their friend?
Ben said they're not friends, and I think he's right. My reason that supports my claim is that the billionaire class helped Donald Trump win the election through large donations and ringing endorsements. and now many of them have been given access to the levers of government where they can influence where the country's vast wealth flows. Next, my evidence, and I will be upfront with you, there is no smoking gun, but there is a mountain of circumstantial evidence. For example, the second and third richest men in the world, Mark Zuckerberg and Jeff Bezos, both of these men were critical of Donald Trump during his last term, yet they both chose to remain silent during the 2024 election cycle. In my opinion, both recognized that it would be a free-for-all among the elite class if Donald Trump won the presidency, and they were hedging their bets for fear of not having a seat at the table. Here are some quotes from both billionaires that shed light on their expected role in the administration now that they are both supporters and loyalists. After the election, Jeff Bezos said,
"He seems to have a lot of energy around reducing regulation. And my point of view, if I can help him do that, I'm going to help him."
The Amazon CEO, with a track record of workers' rights violations, wants to help the president remove regulations. And Mark Zuckerberg, who also after the election was quoted by Meta's global affairs chief as saying he was very keen to play an active role in the president's tech policy making.
They kissed the ring, and now they're in on the deal.
It looks that way, but we can't be sure. Then there is the long list of billionaire and 100-millionaire donors who were appointed to high-ranking roles within the government, such as investment banker Howard Lutnick, who was appointed the Secretary of Commerce. He's a longtime Trump ally, net worth $3 billion. And then there's PayPal Mafia member David Sachs, the new AI and crypto czar, net worth over $1 billion. Next, we have the cryptocurrency queen, Kelly Loeffler, named administrator of the Small Business Administration, net worth $800 million. And we can't forget the new Energy Secretary, Chris Wright, and the new Secretary of the Interior, Doug Burgum, both of them coming in at a net worth of over $100 million. There's also a very long list of newly appointed ambassadors who are also mega donors to the MAGA super PACs. Some of those names: Leandro Rizzuto Jr., Warren Stevens, Charles Kushner, Jared Isaacman, and Thomas Barrack Jr., all billionaires. And of course, the biggest whale, the world's richest man, Elon Musk, who donated over $280 million to the Trump campaign and has since been given the power to cut funding to government programs as he sees fit. And this list goes on, but we've already done a video about it. So for more on President Trump's campaign donors and what they received in return, see this video on the Globalist channel.
Could it be a coincidence?
It is possible, but when you look at the sheer number of what look like hookups and combine that with the lack of qualifications many of these appointees possess, it looks much more like a trust has formed among the country's elite class with the intention of consolidating wealth and power.
When presidents sell cars on the White House lawn.
Later in the episode, Ben takes another shot at making his argument. His claim is the same: there is no oligarchy or collusion. This time he gives one reason in an offhanded way, and again he provides no supporting evidence. Let's watch.
So President Trump did a big presser, you'll recall, a few weeks ago on the lawn over at the White House where he talked about buying a Tesla. And this was ripped on by the members of the media, suggesting this was a form of corruption. This is Trump trying to prop up the Tesla stock or whatever. Okay, well, the truth is that Joe Biden had done exactly the same thing with Stellantis. There's nothing really new here.
His argument is because Joe Biden did it, so it's okay. Joe Biden, former President Joe Biden, the same Joe Biden Ben Shapiro has been accusing of incompetence every day for the last 4+ years.
And the answer is because Joe Biden is a boob, a rube, and a moron. That is the answer. There's no other answer that is possible.
Is this what they teach at Harvard Law School? Ben would have been better off sticking to flattery and telling us how smart we are. If we were to buy this stuff, then we would at the very least have to believe that if Joe Biden said it or did it, then it's all right with Ben Shapiro.
But the Trump and Biden car shows the same.
Let's see what's going on at White House Automotive. First, the similarities. Both President Biden and President Trump were in fact promoting cars on the White House lawn in hopes that Americans would buy them. Second, American car manufacturers made pledges to increase production of EV cars in America to both President Biden and President Trump. Pledges that in theory would create more middle-class jobs. In the case of Joe Biden, his promotion of the Jeep Rubicon was to highlight parts of the Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act, which gave tax credits to manufacturers as well as buyers of electric vehicles. These incentives drew pledges from GM, Ford, and Stellantis to electrify up to 50% of new sales by 2030, as well as billions of dollars worth of pledges from companies like GM, LG Chem, and SK Innovation to build battery and assembly plants across the country. In the case of Donald Trump, his promotion of Tesla resulted in Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla Motors, pledging to double the output of electric vehicles in 2 years. The results. It would be hard to characterize President Biden's result as anything other than in the range of good to excellent. His car show was the beginning of a massive investment in American manufacturing, totaling over $212 billion in corporate investment that created over 230,000 jobs. President Trump's result is yet to be seen because it just happened, so we must wait. But we can write down the numbers 700,000 cars and trucks and 70,000 employees. Those are the 2024 Tesla domestic sales numbers and employee count. And then we have to wait till 2026 to see if domestic production is up to around 1.4 million cars and trucks, and we will see if that results in an increase in manufacturing jobs.
Sometimes waiting is the hardest part. But what about the $100 million donation?
There are also some stark differences in the two scenarios, including a set of circumstantial evidence that some might say clearly points to quid pro quo and corruption in the Trump-Musk agreement.
Exhibit A.
Due to a mix of company performance, dissatisfaction with the behavior of the owner, boycotts, and vandalism, the stock price of Tesla Inc. had fallen 55% in under 3 months. And it just so happens that the stock hit its recent low of $217 per share on the very same day, March 11th, that President Trump used his office to promote Tesla Motors. So naturally, this looks like the president hooked up his top donor in an effort to stop the donor's company from bleeding out any further.
Exhibit B.
According to many sources, including Elon's own AI, Grok 3, either that same day, March 11th, or the day after, March 12th, Elon Musk told the Trump administration that he was planning to donate another $100 million to MAGA super PACs. If
this were a transaction, the receipt would read, an ad to prevent the loss of billions on the stock market. Price, $100 million.
That's exactly what it looks like, and the result was indeed a recovery in the price of the Tesla stock, gaining 33% over the next 11 trading days. So what's this look like? This looks like President Trump said, hey, I'll help save your company if you give me more political power by fueling up my super PACs with $100 million. And Elon Musk said, yeah, $100 million is a good bargain for an ad, considering I'm losing billions of dollars a week in this sell-off.
But why would Donald Trump need PAC money in the beginning of his second term?
Exhibit C, the day before, March 10th, Congressman Thomas Massey from Kentucky drew the ire of the president when he voted no on a government funding bill that the president wanted to see pass. In a Truth Social post, the president called Congressman Massey a grandstander and said the congressman should be primaried before asking if there were any takers to run against Massey in the primaries leading up to the 2026 congressional elections. Next day, March 11th, the day of the Tesla car show, the president raged on, posting again that Congressman Massey is a grandstander and informing the public that the people of Kentucky would soon be watching an interesting primary. Simply put, Trump wants Massey out in the midterms and Musk just gave him the money to make it happen.
Massey must bend the knee or die a martyr.
Given that it is a hard fact that the candidate that raises the most money in congressional elections wins over 90% of the time, Congressman Massey is in trouble, and he does understand this. That's why on those same days, March 10th and 11th, he took to social media to begin raising funds for his next primary. As of April 9th, Congressman Massey is holding his mud, meaning he cast a no vote for President Trump's big, beautiful bill. If he doesn't fold, Congressman Massey will likely be outgunned financially during the 2026 election cycle, and his name will be ran through the mud on social media by Musk and the MAGA media arm, greatly decreasing his chances of victory.
Is Bernie Sanders an oligarch?
The next 2 points prove just how silly Ben can get, and they won't take me too long to make. First, Ben tries to label Congressman Bernie Sanders an oligarch.
Here he was talking about the quote-unquote oligarchy. Now again, any actual definition of oligarchy would have to include Bernie Sanders in it. He's one of the most powerful people in the country. He's very wealthy. He obviously has that lake house. He has a big following. If you're talking about oligarchs in control of the levers of power and capable of controlling people's lives, Bernie should be near the top of that list.
I guess he is trying to be cute because Ben knows that in the parlance of our times, when people say oligarchs, they mean the captains of industry who have more wealth than many small countries. Nobody saying oligarchs, as in Russian oligarchs, is talking about a democratically elected senator who has built up a $3 million nest egg because he has been working for 60 years.
Maybe we should call them plutocrats.
That would be more accurate, but Ben knows he's playing word games here. He's far too smart to believe this. To believe that Bernie Sanders is an oligarch is to believe that Congress itself is an oligarchy rather than a representative body that's charged with executing the will of the people.
What's a wobbly?
It's another name Ben called Senator Sanders just minutes before he called him an oligarch.
He's an old school wobbly, Bernie Sanders.
A wobbly is a nickname for a member of the industrial workers of the world. Wobblies form an international union and are the natural enemies of oligarchs. Wobblies also advocate for workplace democracy, meaning the bosses are elected by the workforce, which would all but eliminate the billionaire class. In general, Wobblies combat the consolidation of power among the employing class in order to distribute resources to the working class. And I can't stress this enough. It is impossible to believe Ben doesn't know this. Calling someone a wobbly and then in the next breath calling them an oligarch is like calling them a free trade advocate and a protectionist. It's nearly the same as labeling a person an atheist and a theist. But you get my point.
Anecdotal evidence. Evidence based on personal stories or individual experiences. Often used to illustrate a point, but considered less reliable than statistical or scientific evidence.
Here's some more silly shit that Ben must know is ridiculous. After he claims that Congresswoman Ocasio-Cortez hates the rich,
people like AOC, who doesn't understand business, doesn't understand economics, hates the rich, like truly, does not like them, thinks that there's like a moral quality that adheres to you as you gain wealth, that makes you immoral and bad.
Ben makes a point against the idea that money and power have the ability to corrupt people and make them immoral.
Right? I have been very not rich and I've been very rich, and I'm basically the same person all the way through. And that's true of pretty much everybody I know who was at one point not rich and then became rich.
Again and again, we find another argument that would have gotten Ben laughed out of law school. Imagine this guy standing in front of a jury. Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, my client could not have been driving drunk on the night in question because I myself have been drunk and I did not choose to get behind the wheel of an automobile. The corrupting nature of power and wealth have been recognized for years. They are even warned against in the Torah, which Ben should also know.
Is Ben Shapiro a cult leader?
Not exactly. When I say Ben Shapiro uses cult leader tactics, I don't mean that he is a cult leader. I mean that it is a common practice among cult leaders to tell their followers that the followers are too smart to believe what their parents have taught them, or what they have heard on the news, or even what their own ability to reason tells them is true. This tactic is designed to trick devotees into having unquestioning faith in the truth of what the cult leader is saying, and Ben Shapiro is a practitioner of this tactic. It is also clear that Ben has eschewed his formal training and retrained himself in the style of a bullshit artist. The main difference between Ben and a cult leader is that a cult leader isolates his victims and then, through daily lectures, further distorts reality and deepens the trance of the devotee. And Ben has no such power. His followers can turn him off forever at any time they want. That's it. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and if you're feeling generous, contribute to the Patreon. My name is Greb Kored, your ally in the fight against disinformation. Oh!